Hey guys, it's Andrew. This video is our shortest one, but it's because it's impossible to find this movie online, so we couldn't do a proper edit, and I didn't want you to just look at stills. And also, it's a short episode anyway. We want you to discover this movie on your own. It's on Netflix right now. If you're listening to this later, it's usually on one of the streaming services, so go check it out. Also, all my films, by the time this episode is released, we obviously recorded it earlier because it's no longer Hispanic Heritage Month, but we're putting it out now. And so, yeah, Hispanic Heritage Month has passed, and also my movies have premiered. They're back in the festival circuit, which means you can't watch them anymore, but thank you for everyone who did support us. And if you watch this movie, let us know, because we'd be very interested in getting people to watch Raising Victor Vargas. All right, let's get on with the show. This is The Bomb Squad. We finally have a name, which I'm retroactively adding to every single podcast. And this podcast is about us finding movies that are either underappreciated or overlooked or outright hated for one reason or another. And just kind of looking at them through a different lens. Kind of giving them a second chance, as it will. And I'm here with my best friend, Joshua Whitney Amp. So today we're actually looking at a film. So far we've looked at films that have gotten terrible reviews or like just been overlooked. But today is our first film that has got good reviews. It's just didn't get a lot of them, and a lot of people haven't even heard of this movie. But for Hispanic Heritage Month, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite movies, which is Raising Victor Vargas. Raising Victor Vargas is a 2002 movie directed by Peter Sollett and starring Victor Rasuk and Judy Marte.
I think maybe it's just because their performances are so authentic that even if you didn't grow up necessarily that way, you feel how authentic it is and so I think there is kind of that like universality to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. So Raising Victor Vargas is about this kid named Victor Vargas. He lives in the Bronx with his sister, his brother, and his grandma. And it basically takes place over one of the, like a summer. It's a hangout movie. It's also like a rom-com because he meets this girl named Judy. And he tries to start going out with her.
My name is Victor Vargas.
And she agrees to go out with him because she's constantly harassed by men, quote unquote, dating someone. Like she's taken, so they'll leave her alone. It's like that old adage that if a woman tells a man, "I'm not interested," he'll keep pursuing her. But if she tells him that she has a boyfriend, she'll respect him. It's kind of playing on that.
You actually need someone physically there, almost,
yeah,
for like the ruse to work. And
Even a relationship. You know he's gonna think that you guys are really together, right?
Because she's there with her friend, and they even talk about it, how her just saying she has a boyfriend is starting to lose its validity. Like people aren't buying it anymore. So that's why she gets Victor. Victor really likes Judy. Judy's using Victor. And then the movie, it's like I said, it's just a hangout movie. And then there's two subplots. Like one of the to be introduced to Victor, or to Judy, Victor has to he has to use her brother, and her brother has a crush on Vicky, his sister. Also, his name is Victor, and then her name is Vicky.
Yeah, Victor Vargas and Vicky Vargas.
Yeah, and then the little kid is named, because he has another brother, and his name is Nino. It's Nino, yeah.
Nino. Is it actually Nino, or does she just call him Nino?
Well, she calls him Nino, but he's also credited as Nino, so I don't know if she even had. But one of the good things about it is that Victor and Nino are actually played by real-life brothers, and they look exactly the same, which adds a level.
The casting was all he just basically cast people from that neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of why.
They never say how old they are, and it's over the summer, so you don't ever see them go to class.
I mean, it's got 16-ish, 17-ish.
Yeah, but they're clearly
kind of where it was.
And I would even say they might be 15, because Victor doesn't even have a job. None of them are working, it's just them hanging out at the pool and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Another thing I liked about this is how, like, from the point of view of the kids it is. Like they have the grandma, but you never know what the grandma's job is or how they have money. Because like when you're a kid, you don't really think about that kind of stuff. You know, you don't just doesn't come up. And I think that also, like just how authentic it feels, even with stuff like that where you don't really think about it until you're like, what does a grandma do? You know?
Right. Well, and I did kind of like how like yeah, it's like obviously they're living in pretty heavy poverty, but like at no point is that like Victor like I guess bothered by like he's purely concerned with like how do I get this girl to like me and how do
Right.
I like stop people from knowing I had sex with Fat Donna, you know?
Right. And yeah, like they live in a 2-bedroom apartment. And
Yeah,
so
and
it's
he
three
has
of
the
the
little
kids.
blanket that
Yeah.
like separates his bed from the others, so it's like for privacy. Which is
Yeah.
like,
And he has like it's three of the kids in one bedroom, including the sister. And Victor and Nino sleep in the same bed. So it's just kind of, and I think that's another thing. Like again, from the kids' point of view, like when we were kids, I grew up in a pretty similar situation, and you don't think about it. Like to you, I remember when I was in middle school, I was talking to this guy, and he was like, "How come you wear the same shirt so much?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I realized that like, because he was like a rich white kid, and I realized that they buy clothes more often. And like at this point, we had moved to the west side, which is the richer side of town, and like I think it was the first time I realized that I might be poor, you know. But like I said, you don't think about it as a kid, and that's brought into the movie where you don't ever see them complain about how they're poor. At one point, Victor does acknowledge it, but it's like,
Man, I wanted you to see me down to my beat down chocolatas, these beat down shorts. I wanted you to meet my crazy moms and my sister and my little brother.
Why?
Cause that's me.
yeah, it's just a fact of life as opposed to like a struggle that they have to get over. They have everything they need. They're always fed. They have a place over their head, so it's not that big a deal for them. At least not yet, you know.
right, and yeah, and you don't really know what the grandma's going through to do it. I mean, obviously, you get the sense that life has been pretty hard, but you know, not like that. Like the movie's not about that.
Yeah, and one of the things is I want to talk about the cinematography, but the good segue to that is that it's like the apartment is so small, and they clearly filmed it in the apartment, in a real, New York apartment. There's a part where the grandma is bathing Nino. He's like 11 or 12 years old. He's not that young, but she's like bathing him, and you can tell that they're having to squeeze in this tiny apartment because it's just such a
Just to
small
get the
space.
shots,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that I don't know, it kind of does add to the authenticity, but I hate this kind of shooting style. They did the very mumblecore, like the quick zoom ins and zoom outs, and the camera's always handheld, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that was somewhat limitations, and also just because they didn't have like like a firm script, right? It was a lot of ad libbing, like
Yeah, it's a lot of bad living. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, this is a short episode, but I think the problem is that usually we spend a lot of time like finding scenes that are stupid and just kind of laughing about them. And this movie's so tight.
This movie, yeah, it's both short. It's like I think it's under 90 minutes, and it's so like kind of like there's really nothing to pick apart or be like, huh, this was ridiculous because it's like no, it's just a super authentic, pretty brief like snapshot into their lives, you know.
Right. It feels like Victor. Maybe he's not who I was as a kid, but he's definitely who I saw myself as.
He's also he's such a standout. Like this is such a movie that stays with you that you will like be like, oh, there he is, and every time
Yeah.
he pops up in like a movie or a TV show, you're like Victor Vargas.
Right now, Victor Vargas is on Netflix. It's the perfect time to watch it. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes. It's surprisingly short, but it's great, especially if you are Hispanic. And it does kind of feel like one of those movies that you kind of discover. And hopefully, if we can get a couple of people to watch Raising Victor Vargas just based off this podcast, I feel like we'll be a success. I would like, go check it out. It's on Netflix. It's usually on Netflix or Amazon Prime. It's on streaming a lot.
But it's
definitely the best movie we've talked about on this podcast.
yeah, it's the best, and it's the one like I could literally watch it over and over again. And I have. I watched it like every summer. But what I did for a while was I would watch it anytime it was on streaming, just because it's so easy. This has been the Bomb Squad. Follow us on Bomb Squad Podcast and on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you next time.